I was in the middle of doing a drawing today when I discovered this thing called phytomining. I'll say it again, phytomining. I think I'm pronouncing that properly, but it's about these plants that have this ability to absorb mineral from the ground, such as certain metals even, like nickel, copper, aluminum, and apparently they're wanting to use this to where you can have crops of certain trees or plants, and what you can do is then harvest those plants to get the metals from them. But I think you would have to have a lot of plants to do that. I mean, like, how much do you get from one tree? I think that they said, from what I had read, is that you get 3% of the weight of the plant in return as something as copper or aluminum, and that's not much weight, because let's say you have something that's 300 pounds, you're getting back not that much, so you have to mine or get a lot of it, and I just found that interesting. I find and discover a lot of random topics that I learn about while I'm in the middle of drawing. I'll just bring up some podcast or something and start watching that, and before I know it, I'm listening to some random video about random topics. I like to look into stuff about space and science or anything related to that field, but I'm also into powerlifting and sprinting. But when I'm drawing, I mostly listen to podcasts, or I look up interesting things. Well, things are interesting to me, at least. Maybe they're not interesting to you. Maybe there's something else that you're into. But myself, I'm into a lot of science stuff. I remember when I was a kid, I would always go to the library and read up a lot of things about it. I guess I was kind of that nerdy kid. I would go to the library and I'd always get books about dinosaurs and space and other books, anything related to it, about animals, and I would bring the books home and I would try to redraw those animals or those plants or the dinosaurs, or sometimes I would even redraw dinosaurs how I think they would look if I was reading a textbook that didn't have any pictures. I mean, the best textbooks were always the one that had the detailed pictures in them. And didn't they? I think that I'm pretty sure that it was one of the dinosaurs that didn't have any feathers, and they actually found out they had some on it. Was it the T-Rex or the raptor or something? I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since I read that. But when you watch the movies about it, like some of the movies where they don't have that, and then they discover it many years later that the way they were portraying that was wrong, and you find out that that dinosaur actually had feathers. It's kind of like if you were to be making a type of meal, and then years later you found out that you had the recipe completely wrong, and then you add one missing thing to it, and it tastes so much better. And all that time you could have had that one extra ingredient. I don't ever really actually cook by a list. I don't really follow any instructions per se, as far as like when I cook things, I just throw things together. I'm kind of like, do I think this will taste good? I think it will. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in there, see how that'll be. I don't really follow any recipes. I just get a little bit of everything that I need. I mean, if I'm going to make some type of spaghetti, I've got the noodles, and then I cook the meat, and then I have a little bit of salt, and then you have the sauce. As long as you have the basics, the noodles, and then the tomato sauce and the meat, you can make it with or without meat, either way you want to do it, but this is kind of how I make it. So I've got the sauce, the spaghetti noodles, and the meat, and some salt, and everything else is just extra, really, as long as you just have the basics. I mean, you can make it with tomatoes, but the cheapest way was probably to use tomato paste. But tomato paste, it has kind of a slight sour taste to it a little bit. It must be something with the way they make it. But the tomato sauce doesn't taste that way. Even though the sauce is just a less condensed version of the tomato paste, whereas the sauce is just watered down slightly. It's not as concentrated. So I'm not really sure why it tastes kind of slightly sour, even though I watered down the tomato paste. Must be something in the way that it's made at the factory. That could be it. But I don't really follow any recipes. I just put things together, and then I just make something. So it's always going to be something different. I don't have to follow exact recipe. You've got to add this many cups of this, or you've got to add 2 cups of this to make this taste this way. I kind of just eye it, and I'm like, okay, I think I'm going to add a little bit of pepper to it. Oh, that seems interesting. I think a little bit of garlic would work. You know, garlic does seem to taste good in just about anything if you're cooking a meal. Garlic, pepper, and salt. Pretty much the main things I use in a lot of my cooking. I mean, I don't consider myself any good cook at all. I don't really cook for anyone else. I just cook for me. So what I consider tasting good might not taste good to another person. But we all do taste things completely different. Like, one person can eat a spaghetti meal and love it, and another person thinks it tastes horrible, even though it's just the same meal. We've all got our preferences. Some things that we like and things that we don't like. But anyways, I don't really follow a recipe too much. I just make whatever. Anything I feel like making, I just make. I used to try to make all of my meals ahead of time, like plan it out for the week, and like put it in Tupperware containers. I used to always do that when I was into training for sprinting or powerlifting, because it just saves me a lot of time. But I ate a lot of food, so I had to do that. But I don't eat nearly as much now. I was eating like 10 times as much food. Now I pretty much just make a different meal every day. Sometimes I might make the same meal a couple of days in a row. Like the one day I actually made spaghetti like 3 days in a row. And then I made some chicken. And then I made spaghetti again. And then another day I made some like rice with some peppers. I kind of just switch it up from here and there. Kind of like some of the things that I talk about. It's completely random and rambling. I was going to pick a specific topic to talk about, but I think sometimes I'll just say some things and just talk about whatever is on my mind, and then just put it out there, I guess. But I actually have on my desktop, speaking of science, it's like a wallpaper of stars and like this nebula and everything, and I always find different wallpapers that I want, like always trying to find that really good interesting, cool wallpaper, then I find a different one that I like more, then I have that. But I used to do that all the time, but now I actually end up having the same wallpaper for a long time. I think I've had this same wallpaper for like 2 years maybe, and at one point I did have the same wallpaper on my computer from, I think it was 2010 all the way until like 2016. So for 6 years I just used the same wallpaper. I never really even paid too much attention. Oh well. Maybe I could make it art related wallpaper. I'm not really sure. But I'm not really worried. I'd never really even look at my wallpaper, because I've always got something on the screen, video editing or something. Anyways, hope you enjoyed watching this, and I'm actually going to go make myself some food, so thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and give this a like, and I'll see you next video.